Alrighty, welcome, ladies. I am super excited to invite you today into this conversation with Shelly. We're going to be talking about losing yourself to be loved by him, essentially shifting who you are in order to be loved, appreciated, validated, fit in, to be safe, all these things. And often it can be really hard to make decisions when we are making them from a place outside of ourselves. So welcome, Shelly. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you, Kate. I am wonderful. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is going to be a really juicy conversation. And essentially, we're going to be talking about trauma. And Shelly, tell us a little bit before we jump into that big topic. Tell us a bit more about what you do.
Yes, so I am a chiropractor, former chiropractor, sexual trauma coach, and plant medicine guide. So I've blended all of my past experiences as a coach and as a chiropractor together. And now I facilitate plant medicine ceremonies. So I work a lot with cannabis, combo, bufo, and psilocybin. And what I really focus on is healing sexual traumas. And for women, that's healing our womb, because any trauma, whether it's sexual or not, has a root in our womb, and it affects who we are, how connected we feel to our soul, with our heart, with divinity. So everything really comes back and begins in our womb. So that's my passion. That I have a long journey of getting there, a lot of experience in chiropractic about traumas are stored in the body. That's why as a coach, I kept noticing clients would revert and not get anywhere because those same traumas that we thought we were healing mentally were stuck in the body, getting triggered, getting reactivated, sending my clients back into that fight or flight, that freeze mode, defense system, trauma response. And it literally just feels like when you're stuck in that, you're spinning your wheels. So I've created my own method of healing, Shakti synchronization healing, that brings everything together, the mind, the body, the soul. So through embodiment practices, through breath work, and then through plant medicine ceremonies, we're able to really return home to who we are and remember who we are, because trauma disconnects us from who we are.
Yes, absolutely. And I think when we're so disconnected, it can be really challenging and frightening to make decisions that are big decisions and really step into what we want. And I feel like your work is exactly the gateway, the doorway to being able to really understand yourself at a deeper level.
Absolutely. Well, if you think about it, trauma keeps you stuck in fear. Your body is stuck in that state of fearing when the next trauma will come, keeping you in that defense mode, protection mechanism to prevent yourself from feeling that pain. So when trying to make a decision from that space, fear is going to creep in, and you're not going to be able to make a clear decision.
Absolutely. Okay, this is so exciting. So can we, before we jump into everything, can you tell us a bit more about what trauma is? It can be such a big word. A lot of people can sometimes say, oh, I'm like, that's not me or anything, but trauma is so many little things. Can you tell us more about what trauma is and how to look out for it?
Absolutely. So there's big traumas and there's small traumas. So when people hear the word trauma, they oftentimes think of the big traumas, abuse, different kinds of a divorce, loss of a loved one, just that painful wounding between, let's say, a parent and you, where you have this big full-blown argument and breakup. So in a car accident, injuries, things like that are the big traumas. And then we have the smaller traumas, which happen on an everyday basis. And those are things like negative self-talk. Because we're literally traumatizing and inflicting ourselves with pain by talking negatively about ourselves, about our self-worth, not stepping into our full power, feeling that disconnection causes us to beat ourselves up, feeling not good enough. All of those are repetitive small traumas that over the course of your lifetime are actually more detrimental to your soul than one big trauma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then as a chiropractor, we had a philosophy that there were these 3 T's that cause interference in the nervous system, and trauma and the nervous system are linked together. So let's get back. And the nervous system is the communication highway between the brain and the body and the brain. So anytime that messages cannot flow between the brain and body, body and brain, anytime there's interference, there's three causes for that. One, thoughts, our toxic thoughts, negative thoughts, fears, limiting belief systems, inhibitions, some of those past painful memories that we keep on repeat over and over and over.
Yeah.
Those keep our body in a state of stress or a state of dis-ease, which keeps that communication highway full of traffic, jammed up. We can't get where we're going. The second cause is traumas. And these are any kinds of traumas from even, I had a lot of patients tell me, oh, well, I slept wrong, therefore I have neck pain. And I'm like, no, it's an accumulation of traumas. And sleeping wrong was that one final straw that caused the pain to show up.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the third one is toxins. So any kind of toxin in our environment, from chemical toxins to the toxins in the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink. So there's all sorts of different things. And there are toxic people as well, toxic energies that are around us that then cause our body to go into that stress mode that causes the interference in our nervous system. And when there's interference in our nervous system, our body cannot function properly. Our mind cannot function properly. Our soul cannot function properly.
Wow, I love that. Beautiful. How can we notice that we are being impacted by it?
So if we just drop into our body, become present, take a deep breath, and just feel, are we tense? Are we living from a place of fear? Do we feel connected to our heart? Do we feel connected to nature? Do we feel connected to our family? Do we feel that we can speak our truth and be who we are unapologetically? Or do we feel we're holding ourselves back? We're walking on eggshells. We're playing small. Anytime that we feel that we have to hide or keep ourselves repressed, we have been affected by trauma. Yeah. Anytime we seek validation, acceptance, love, or approval, or we don't want to, rock the boat or upset the apple cart, we've been affected by trauma. So a lot of who we're being, even though it's like, well, I've been that my entire life.
Yeah.
It can be from a trauma, from birth trauma, from a past life trauma, from generational trauma. There's many different types of traumas that can impact who we are, that we think, no, this is who I am, therefore I'm connected to me, I have no traumas.
Yeah.
When in reality, that's not really your true higher self. That's your trauma self that you've become so comfortable with, that you identify with, and you're so afraid of losing that it's hard to actually admit that, no, yeah, I've been affected by traumas. That's not really who I'm being.
Yes, absolutely. I love this because a lot of the women that I work with, and for myself, I personally was in an affair as well. And when we're in this situation itself, it's so hard to see outside of ourselves. And it's scary. It's scary to be able to see another perspective outside of ourselves because we're so stuck in that experience. So you're talking about wound clearing and everything like that to really acknowledge where we're at and step into our body. How can we start doing this to help get in touch with ourselves more? What's the process like?
So it's a long process. I'm like, where to begin? So one of the things that we can do is really come back into our body, which sounds easy, yet is very difficult because we've disconnected from our body. And one of the things that happens when trauma occurs, big or small traumas, is a part of our soul may leave or escape to avoid the full impact of pain from the trauma. And until we reclaim that part of our soul, we're going to continue repeating the same traumas over and over and over again in an attempt to get us to reclaim that part of our soul. It's like knocking, trying to get you to feel the pain that, hey, you're missing something, you're not whole, you're not complete, because we're missing that part of our soul that's attached to that trauma that's not healed. And in so doing, the soul, the part of our soul that left, it has the memory of the trauma attached to it. So some people can't remember what trauma happened because that memory is attached to the part of their soul that escaped or left that they're looking for. But the pain of the trauma still got stuck in the body. But when our soul disassociates, what happens is we've created armoring in our body, which is literally like a constricting, deadening of our tissues, which creates this armor to prevent us from feeling more pain from more traumas.
Yes.
So we are disconnected from our body. So when I say we need to come back into our body and really feel our body, that's the first step in healing. There's a couple different practices that women can do. Something as simple as a daily meditation practice, breath work, a yoni steam. My favorite recommended practice, especially to help de-armor the yoni and womb from these traumas, from these wounds, from the pain, is a yoni egg practice, which I don't know if you've heard about a yoni egg practice.
Yes. But tell us more.
So a yoni egg practice is my favorite embodiment practice because first, a yoni egg is a stone egg that women insert into their yoni. And yoni is the Sanskrit word for vagina. So you keep this yoni egg inside of you, starting out 30 minutes, working your way up to a couple of hours. You can sleep with the yoni egg inside of you overnight. You can do yoga with it in, you can meditate with it in. And then paired with pelvic floor practices, different squeezing, contraction techniques, paired with meditation, paired with breath work, you're slowly going to break down that armor because the yoni egg is going to be massaging the tissues of your yoni and womb. So it's through physical touch that armoring, that hardening of your tissues can now soften and relax and surrender and go, okay, we're safe.
Yes.
We can drop those walls, we're safe.
Mm.
And then, because a lot of women, unfortunately, can't feel their yonis or wombs because of that armoring. Those traumas desensitize our yonis and wombs. So we're out there having sex, but we're not even feeling the sex. So the very first practice is coming back into our yonis and wombs with a yoni egg, which has so many healing benefits besides the embodiment portion. For me, I struggled with PCOS, imbalanced hormones, all sorts of irregularities in my menstrual cycle, debilitating menstrual cramps. After 1 month of using my yoni egg, when I first started this practice 10 years ago, after 1 month, no menstrual cramps, everything balanced out. Even my gynecologist a few years ago, she's like, you have no history of having PCOS. Your ovaries look perfect. They're fine. And I'm like, okay. She's like, what did you do? And I'm like, well, let me tell you.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Wow. That is incredible. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love this kind of conversation. And if this can often feel a bit woo-woo or a bit out there for people that haven't entered the whole spiritual realm of things, how, if we're going from not even knowing all these different self-love practices, how can we start being a little bit more open to them when we feel like, oh, it seems like a little too, how can putting an egg in my yoni impact me and my moving away from trauma?
Absolutely. So the yoni egg practice is actually a 7,000-year-old practice. It originated in China in ancient cultures, ancient Eastern cultures, where unfortunately we've lost a lot of that ancient knowledge and wisdom of what our ancestors used to do to heal, which was medical back then. Any Ayurvedic doctor would actually prescribe you with a yoni egg, a certain sexual position, because there's reflexology points inside of our yoni that connect every organ in our body, that open up our meridians or acupuncture lines in our body, allowing that energy to flow. So even though it may sound woo-woo or spiritual or out there, recognizing that for thousands of years, this has been a practice.
Yes, I love this.
For thousands of years, women have used this as a source for their happiness, their connection to divinity. Because the other thing is, on our cervix, there are 2 doors or portals. One door or portal opens to our heart, opening us up to our own unconditional love for ourselves. The other portal or doorway opens our crown chakra, connecting us to divinity. So it is through our womb that we connect with our heart and we connect spiritually.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this. That is beautiful. Awesome. All righty. I want to, before we because there's so much to cover, I want to talk on trauma bonding. if we are
Mhm.
in a connection, in an affair with a married person, and we either are wanting to leave the affair and we feel so stuck in the situation, but ultimately we feel this is hurting us, this is not doing us well, and we want to end the affair. Or on the other situation, they might be in the affair and they're hoping that he's going to leave his partner and nothing is happening fast and she's holding on. What can you tell us more about what trauma bonding is and what it looks like, so that people can understand a little bit more if this is something that could be playing up in their relationship with a married man?
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful question. And my analogy that I always use for trauma bonding is that we in relationships, we're not connecting heart to heart, we're connecting wound to wound.
Yes.
And when we break this down and look at it from a quantum physics perspective of everything is energy, our unhealed traumas and wounds are nothing more than energy. They're just stuck energy, and they're stuck energy that keeps our cells wherever they're stored in our body. So for example, if sexual abuse is stored in our yoni and womb where it occurred, we can have other traumas, childhood wounds, a mother wound or a father wound that is keeping our heart chakra blocked.
Yeah.
That is going to keep the chakra or the body part or all of the cells of our body vibrating at a frequency of that unhealed trauma or wound.
Yes.
So now when we dive into this concept that like energy attracts like energy, if your body, your chakras, your cells are vibrating at a frequency of unhealed traumas and wounds, they are going to attract other people who have that similar vibration because we're attracting like energy. So that to me is how I view trauma bonding.
Yeah.
If I have an unhealed father wound, I am going to attract a partner into my life who also has maybe an unhealed mother wound that are complementary.
Yes.
Or maybe he also has a father wound that triggers my father wound, because what we do, our souls came here to heal. So we will create experience after experience after experience until we heal. And in every experience, we're gifted an opportunity that's like poking us in an attempt to get us to feel the pain of the wound or the unconditional love of the heart connection.
Yes.
So when it's a trauma bond, when it's a wound to wound connection, it's painful. It keeps us disconnected from who we truly are. It keeps us distracted. We can't think clearly. When we feel that unconditional love in a heart to heart connection, it's totally different. You feel that you don't need the other person. You feel that they complement you. They help take you to the next level. So in the wound to wound connection, we usually oftentimes feel that we have that fear of losing the other person because we need them. We need something from them, whether it's love, acceptance, validation, financial support, emotional support, sexual excitement, whatever it is we've decided. So we'll hang on to them and be afraid of losing them, when instead we really need to go internally and look at how that person that's in this trauma bond, how do they mirror our own internal partner? So we each have a little inner girl and inner boy, inner feminine, inner masculine within us. For women, if you're in a relationship with a male, how is he mirroring your inner boy? And what does your inner girl need from your inner boy? So doing inner child work, really coming back and looking at what do you need, want, and desire, and can this person give that to you? Now, one of the things that is interesting when we look at affairs is, okay, if you want to leave the affair, what shows up is a lot of traumas and wounds of not feeling that women have a voice because of the sexual repression, the repression of femininity. Women don't feel that they can make that choice or be the one to make it. So oftentimes what I've seen is they'll create experiences where he will be the one to reject them, so they don't have to be the one to hurt him by leaving. Because again, we've kept ourselves small, hidden. We don't feel we can speak our truth. Then on the other side, if we really are attached to this person because of that trauma bond, which can feel like love, it can feel intense and passionate. But it's not that unconditional love that's possible if a woman feels that she needs to stay with him and he needs to leave his partner, unfortunately, that is going to create a new trauma where she's never going to be able to trust him, because if he was with her when he had a wife, now if she becomes his new wife, guess what? She's always going to have in the back of her mind,
Yes.
does he have someone on the side? And that's
Yes.
a whole nother set of new traumas and a new level of trauma bonding
Yeah.
that is going to be even harder to heal.
Wow. So how can we avoid that kind of situation?
Come home to us, heal ourselves.
Yeah.
Even, I've been married for 10 years and I did a lot of my own healing work on me before I met my husband.
Yeah.
And then we continued to do our own healing work individually together for the last 9 years. But it wasn't until I really dived deep into working with plant medicine that it was like, wow, there are so many, even small trauma bonds here that we had no idea existed because we thought we had healed it at that mental, emotional level. But we hadn't really sunken deep into the body to feel what is stored in the body. And to go into it and go, wow, I had no idea that was there. And that's not just mine, that's my ancestors. That was my mother's pattern, my grandmother's pattern.
Yeah.
So when you start diving into the ancestral healing, it's a whole nother can of worms where it's like, honey, you didn't come here just to heal this and this relationship. You're healing this for your lineage, which feels scary, which is uncomfortable, which requires you to step into the unknown.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's one of the main things that stops people from doing the healing work, but getting so caught in the trauma bond, because it's so much easier to stay attached to that trauma bond than actually do the healing work.
It can be scary, but it can also be super exciting because there's so much growth and potential there.
Absolutely. I approach it like, come on, show me what else you got? What else do I need to
what
heal?
Can we work on?
The next level. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be super exciting. And I think it's really about rewriting that narrative instead of being like, gosh, I'm broken all over and this is just too much, to being like, whoa, sorry. To being like, this is really exciting. And this can be a journey to really stepping into my truest self.
Exactly. Well, it's a death and a rebirth. And that fear of any trauma, if we break it down and really look at the core fear in life, that core fear is really death, which can be like, above it is the fear of being alone. And then above that, it can be masked as a fear of something else. But if we just keep dropping deeper, like, okay, go further, what's at the bottom of this fear? It always comes back to death.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
We have to die. Our old self has to die. So it's that fear of death that keeps us from wanting to recreate the narrative, wanting to recreate the story, wanting to rewrite our nervous system and neural networks. Like, it's that fear of death, of who am I going to be after I die? Will I be reborn even? Like, there's even that question as part of the healing journey for a lot of people. Like, what is that even going to look like? I don't even know where to begin. Do I have the time? Do I have the effort? Do I have the energy? Like, I don't have any of that. So let's not do it. Let's just put it on the back burner.
It's so unknown. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It can become too much. So, okay. So if women are going through this and feeling really connected to this kind of conversation, what is one small thing that they can start to do to really connect with themselves? You mentioned meditation. What can they do to just start the journey?
Take 1 hour every single day for their own healing. And that can be a 1 hour meditation practice in the morning, a 1 hour yoga practice. Take an hour just for you, because if you don't make yourself a priority, healing, pleasure, an amazing, happy, healthy relationship, none of that will become a priority in your life. So when you make you a priority, that is that first step to unconditional love.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. So exciting. This journey is really a pleasure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shelly, for joining us. That was an awesome chat. Where can we connect with you?
So you can connect with me on Instagram, where you found me. I am Dr. Shelly Persad on Instagram. And then my website as well is www.drshellypersad.com. And then I have a sisterhood for women where we do 2 sacred cannabis ceremonies every month. So that next step of really committing to like finding and rediscovering and remembering you is working with cannabis, which is a whole nother conversation. But I do have a sisterhood where it's a sacred sister circle where we come together and we heal together, because that's one of the things that's missing in all of our relationships, and even male female relationships. A lot of the trauma is and wounds that are occurring there is due to a sister wound.
Yeah, absolutely. And so is this circle done in person or is it online?
It's online. It's on Zoom.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. I'll pop the links below to all your work. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
That's good. No, thank you so much. This was a wonderful chat. And then when you have the link, send it to me so I can send it to my email list and everyone as well.